Courtney, my dear, would you like to go ahead and add yourself to the video? I'm so excited to see you. Oh my gosh, this is exciting. So whenever you're ready, just go ahead and say, can I join? And I will say yes, I will. So I'd love to hear too, as she's joining, what you guys are doing tonight. I know that Trisha's washing dishes is my guess, but what are you guys doing? I see Jessica's hearts, I see Holly's hearts. It looks like Charlotte is doing her dancing. Good juju, good juju, good juju. Let's do this, Courtney. But I'd love to hear what you guys are doing. Ah, Courtney, girlfriend. She's like, no.
Hi! I was ready to go.
I love it. Wonderful to see you.
Oh my
Wahoo.
gosh, I'm so excited to be here. This is so exciting.
I agree. Oh my, this is so fun because I've heard you on the phone and then I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I've seen her in person. So this is
I know, I
amazing.
don't think that we've had video chat, so this is a first for a lot of things.
I'm loving it. Oh, this is so exciting. Like, Jessica's given a ton of hearts. Holly's given a ton of hearts.
Yay!
And then I'm
My
assuming you're
friends
not.
are in here. I'm so excited, and my new friends.
I love it. Oh my gosh. And I'm assuming you're not able to see comments. Is that right?
Actually, I can.
You can. Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Okay. So Holly is just saying that Gabriel is sending you hearts. So many spirits are here. I completely agree. Hi, Angelica. Yay. Oh my gosh, right? This is incredible. Well, how are you tonight, Courtney?
I'm doing really good. Today has been a very good day, so I'm excited to end this day on this note with you and everybody else. So I'm excited.
Oh, yay. Awesome.
How's your
Awesome.
day going?
It's good. It's been busy. It's been busy. And yeah, so I had some advising students this morning, and then in between just did some back end stuff, and then went to the pediatric clinic, and then just recorded some of the mediumship. And now I'm here. So yeah, it's been busy,
Busy
but
day.
yeah, so much. Oh my goodness. So where are you? Like, where are you located?
Right now, well, I call myself a modern day gypsy because Joe and I, my boyfriend Joe, who I've been with for almost 8 years, we have moved to, I think we've lived in 6 cities in 5 years. Um, we like to move. We don't have kids or anything yet, just our chocolate lab, which you might hear bark in the background, just FYI. And so right now we're currently in Portland, Oregon. Don't know where we're going to go next, but I know we'll go somewhere because we like to move and experience new places and culture and people, and it's fun.
Oh, I love that. I love that. So what is the longest that you've lived in a place? How many years have you lived in one place?
I lived in San Diego, California. Well, besides my like where I grew up, I'm from the Bay Area. I'm from like Napa County or Napa area, and besides where I grew up, Joe and I lived in San Diego for almost 3 years.
Oh, that was your
Yeah,
longest. Oh
yeah,
my goodness.
I know.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. This just like spice of life, you know? I love
Yeah.
that. There's places to explore. So that is just wonderful. Hmm.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah, and especially, like just being in the United States, I mean, we would like to move out of the country, but as long as we have Posey, that's not going to happen because I can't put my dog in quarantine. That's not something that I'm open to doing, but there's lots of different places in the United States that we can live. So, and we visit, I know you live near Boise, which is where my parents live now. And so I visit there often. We go back to the Bay Area a lot. So we like to keep it moving. And that's one of the best things about when we started a business was now we have the freedom to go wherever we want, whenever we want.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Isn't that amazing? Doesn't that blow you
Yeah.
away?
Yeah.
It's just incredible because then you can kind of get off the oh gosh, just off the main path, like off
Yeah.
society, you know, and then you get
Totally.
to dig where you're going and what you're doing, etc. And my husband and I were talking about that last night because he just took a huge leap of faith and quit his 9 to 5 job, and now he's doing his art full time. And
Oh,
so,
I'm so excited for him
yes,
and you guys.
yes. So then we thought about that too, just like you were saying, like you can go anywhere, you can go absolutely anywhere, and it's just
Hmm.
absolutely incredible. And I love that too because I actually, him and I, the longest we have stayed anywhere is here, and we've been here for 10 years. But before that, him and I, it was almost like, yeah, 1 year here, 2 years there. So
Yep.
yes, actually, we're ready to move. We are. saying. I hear what you're saying. So thank you, Holly. Oh my gosh, love this. So Holly's giving some high tens for the Bay Area. Jessica's just saying
Heck
she's.
yes.
I think
I
she's.
know. I know. We're coming to visit Jessica. Don't worry. We've been talking about this. I met Jessica in Bali in November. Actually, it was my first time ever leaving the country, and I went on a retreat, and Jessica was there, and so we connected. And then Holly and I have connected in real life too. She used to live where Joe grew up, so a lot of connections in here.
That. I love all the synchronicity. Isn't that amazing too? I just think
Mhm.
about that, how we have been able to cross paths, or how did this happen? How did we line up in this, in this state, or where we are right now? It's just absolutely
Yeah,
incredible, isn't it?
so
I love
incredible.
the synchronicity. I love synchronicity.
Yeah.
So just then she's in Philly. She's way over there.
Really?
Really. So on that, like just talking about synchronicity, how you've, met people. Sometimes they call it like connect the dots backwards, like the synchronicity, like how did I meet so and so, or how did I end
Yeah.
up, And I'm guessing with the traveling that you and Joe do, you probably end up with that, quite a bit. I know I lived in a van for 2 months, and that's what brought me out to Idaho. I'm from Wisconsin originally.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
yeah, and so those entire 2 months, my traveling partner and I, we were always trying to look at synchronicity and manifestation. And so I love starting, with looking at that synchronicity, and then allowing that to be a segue, just for you to tell us, like, what is your spiritual story or most profound spiritual experience? What was your awakening like? We'd love to hear it.
Yeah, of course. So I honestly didn't even know what manifestation was until like 7 months ago. I didn't, it's funny because I do what you're talking about, like go back, and I'm actually Reiki certified, and I didn't plan on that. It happened completely, well, in divine timing, right? I used to be a nanny, and I was working for this family, and the family's like best friend family. The mom was a stay-at-home mom, and she's a Reiki master. And we ended up spending a ton of time together. And that's when I really started to learn about like angels and spirit, because she meditated every day. She participated in angel circles on a regular basis. Like she went to shamans, and like she did all this stuff that at first I was like, what the heck is that? Like, because I had no idea. I didn't grow up in a spiritual household. I grew up in a household that believed in religion, but not like a lot. So my spiritual connection wasn't very big. And I remember she told me about the angel number 444, and I remember I started seeing it all the time, but I thought that was like the only angel number. Like I really didn't know a lot. And she ended up doing, teaching me to become Reiki 1, which I haven't really ever tapped into, but looking back on how that all happened and how like I manifested that into my life, like it's just so crazy to see how everything lined itself up, and how this woman came into my life, and the connections that we built, and we still stay in touch to this day, because I haven't lived in San Diego in like 4 years. And so it's just really cool. I I remember the first time that I really started believing in law of attraction and angels and spirit. I was struggling with, we moved here actually because I got accepted into Portland State University, but I always knew I didn't want to go to college. I just was going because I felt like I had to. And I remember on the drive, I actually drove to Boise for 4th of July. I got fired from my job, and I thought it was like the worst thing that ever happened, but it come to realize I actually manifested that into my life because I wanted to be my own boss, but I wasn't willing to quit. So the universe said, okay, here you go. We're going to fire you. Which, like, looking back and being able to move through that so quickly and not let it upset me just showed me like how much I was growing and how fast I was growing, because I feel like my growth has been like that. Like, I don't even know, and I know that we've talked about it, and it's just crazy because some of the things that have happened so quickly. But the moment that I remember really feeling like I had a sign, or like something happened to me, where there's two different times. The first one was when I was trying to decide if I wanted to drop out of college or not. I felt like if I dropped out, people were going to judge me. I moved all the way here to Portland to go to school. I've been going to school for like 9 years. I'm almost 27. I started going to college outside of high school, but I've never really been consistent with it because I never really wanted to go, but I was doing it because I didn't know what else to do. And I remember I was listening to the book Big Magic. Have you read that book?
Mm-mm.
Oh my
Who
gosh,
is
it's
that?
super good. It's by the same woman who wrote Eat, Pray, Love. what's her name? I'm drawing
Elizabeth.
a blank. Yes, Elizabeth Gilbert.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so she wrote this book, and actually I never even read Eat, Pray, Love or seen the movie. I know I'm kind of out of touch with some of that stuff. But I heard from somebody this was a good book, and I listened to it on Audible while I was on the drive to Boise. I listened to The Big Leap, and then on the way back, I listened to Big Magic, which are both really good books, by the way. And I remember, like, when I'm in the car by myself, and I actually had never done a drive like that by myself. Every road trip we'd ever done had been Joe and I together, because we used to do like San Diego to NorCal, and we've done now Portland to NorCal lots of different times. And I remember when I'm in the car, I tend to talk to Spirit like a lot and out loud because I feel, I don't know, like not that Joe would judge me, but it just feels funny talking out loud to Spirit when he's sitting right next to me because we live in a studio. So it's not like we have a lot of space in this apartment. And I remember I was listening to this book and it was like hitting me in a really soft spot. And I was trying to decide, like, should I go to school? Should I not go to school? Should I go to school? Should I not go to school? And I remember, and I pressed pause, and my sign that I like picked from the universe, besides angel numbers, which I get on a regular basis all throughout the day, as you know, my sign is a yellow Volkswagen Bug. I don't know why that's my sign, but that's my sign. And I remember I paused the book, and I remember I was crying and I was driving, which probably wasn't the best idea, but it happened. And I remember like looking up and being like, okay, like I need a sign, like please give me a sign, like if I'm not supposed to go to school, like please just tell me, because I'm tired of this back and forth. I don't want to take out a loan if it's not what it's meant to be. Christy, yeah, I like talking to the Spirit in the car too. It's awesome. And I remember it was so crazy. I pressed play, and literally 2 seconds later, the next chapter was called Why Creative People Shouldn't Go to College. And she literally said that. And I remember I just started bawling because I was like, and I got chills all over my body because it was like literally instant sign. Like the way it lined up, it was the craziest, and it gives me the chills now. It was the craziest thing. So that was like my first really big, like, oh my gosh, I'm onto something moment. And then the second was actually, it had to do with school also. It was after I had chosen to drop out of school, but I had to tell my parents. I was scared of telling my parents, like any kid would normally be scared to tell their parents, even though like I'm on my own, I'm completely self-sufficient, but I don't know, I want to make them proud. And I didn't think that I wouldn't not make them proud, but it was just a nerve-wracking thing. And I remember I do a lot of Facebook Lives for my business, and I was on Facebook Live, and all of a sudden I felt the need to like tell all my viewers that I'm not going to school anymore, even though I had made that decision like a few months before. But I decided to tell them, well, my parents aren't on Facebook, but a lot of their friends are. And I was like, oh, like I don't want my parents to find out that I'm not going to college from somebody else. So I was like, well, you have to call your dad right now. So I was like, okay. And I remember I fed my dog and I was taking her to the bathroom. So I called my dad, and he answered the phone, and I was kind of like dodging around the subject because I didn't want to talk about it. And I remember I didn't ask for a sign, I didn't ask for anything. And where I live in my apartment, I live kind of on a busy street, and right across the street is a McDonald's from where our apartment complex is. And I remember taking Posey, and I was like, should I do it? Should I not? Should I do it? Should I not? Should I do it? And literally in that moment, right across the street, parked a yellow bug. Not drove by, because usually they would just drive by. It came and it parked, and it was not a little to the left, not a little to the right, directly in front of me. And I was like, okay, well, I guess I just have to say it. Like, that's the, like, they're telling me it's okay. So I told my dad, and he was like, oh, I think that's a great idea. Like, it was like the best conversation ever. He was like, Court, we believe in you. We know you have the entrepreneur spirit. My dad's an entrepreneur. My mom didn't go to college. So like I have both sides of that in my family. And it's just been little things like that. And every time that I've gotten deeper with my connection, that I've had more success with my business, that I've manifested the right people into my life. And it's just kind of all stacked itself up. And so those were like probably two of the biggest things that have ever happened to me, besides the daily miracles and synchronicities that happen every day.
Oh my gosh, I absolutely love that. Raise your hand out there. Got chills with her stories. Like I want to look at the hairs on my arm. Like serious chills. Like, yeah, ladies, raise your hand. Got chills. I love it. Hi, sweet Mary. I saw Peggy slide in here too. And I do want to acknowledge too, both Trisha and Christy, and I'm sure others, give us a 10 for just talking to spirit on our own or in the car, or, I do it a lot on my hikes. And it is interesting. I just want to share too. It is interesting just because if you're starting to talk out loud and there is somebody there, they're kind of assuming you're talking to them because they're not able to see what you're able to see, right?
Yeah.
And so staying on that. And I just think too, like, look at that, like, yeah, chill.
All the hands up.
Yes, yeah. So I love that just because I feel like we can get so much clarity that way. And I do want to just share too that it's normal. I feel like people are like, gosh, I talk out loud to myself, or I talk to spirit, or that's totally normal. Let's make it normal. Okay. Let's just make it.
Agreed. Totally.
I love this. And I love that you had these signs and that you asked for the signs. So, if you're looking at the spiritual realm, you can ask. And I think some people don't realize they can ask. And so I loved that, should I be going to school or not? Please give me a sign. And then the very next chapter title, and should I tell my dad or not? And then there's your sign across the street. And I love how bold it was. That it didn't drive by. It was like right there.
Yeah, parked. So crazy.
Oh my gosh. And so I feel like that's another thing to share too, is that you can ask, you can ask for very that would have meaning to you. So for me, it's dragonflies. So I love seeing dragonflies, and I'll just see them in like the most bizarre places, I'm like, there should be dragonflies here.
Yeah.
So I love that. So Peggy's just sharing that she does the talking to in her house, in the car.
Yep.
Talk to my
I love it.
And so it's interesting too, because sometimes I'll just, the spirits are always around, and I'm getting insights, and it's just kind of funny because every once in a while I'll kind of laugh out loud. I don't know if anybody does that. Put some hearts in there for laughing out loud at spirit or what they've said, And so I'll get, like, my husband will kind of look like, what? And I'm just like, oh,
did I miss something?
I know. So I love this so much. So I do also want to just segue into our spiritual advising sessions. It's been so incredible. First of all, just how advanced and accelerated you already are. You know what I mean? And I love how the triple numbers and the numbers in general are your sign, because during some of our calls, like, she'll get to this incredible, like, and it's like 111 on my phone, or it's 1, 2, 3, 4, or something, and I'm just like, click, 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 click. And it's so interesting. So I'll click pictures of our phone call. It's just interesting because in that way, we're exchanging gifts. So whenever we're with somebody that is like-minded, has these gifts. And so it's just so funny because after some of my calls with you, I'm just like, and there's a number, and there's a number, and there's, and I'm like, Courtney! I'd love for you to share, with everybody here, what has spiritual advising done for you? What has been your experience?
Spiritual advising, I've been working with you just for a very short time, but I've been doing spiritual advising with others since July. And it's really given me a lot of clarity. It's connected me with a lot of different people, because a lot of the spiritual advisors that I've worked with have groups like this one, which is really nice because it feels good when I can, like, message Holly or message you or message somebody when I'm having like a moment, and someone who's going to understand me. Because there's only so many things you can talk about, with people who maybe haven't tapped into their, spirituality and whatnot yet. So for me, it's given me a lot of clarity. It's given me a lot of confidence in my life and in my business. And it's made my life more meaningful. Just because when you know that you have gifts and you're learning how to use those gifts and that you can help others, it makes me want to get up in the morning even more than I did the day before. Because if I can give my gifts to others and help them and, show them, if I can, because I used to suffer from anxiety. I used to have anxiety attacks every single day. Part of it was my own anxiety, but then partially I've learned through spiritual advising that I am an empath. And just that alone, like, I don't have anxiety attacks anymore because I know how to ground myself, and I know how to tap in, and I know how to, see when it's my anxiety or when it's someone else's. And just, like, the quality of my life more than anything. Like, this last month has been a really kind of stressful time in my business, and It's funny because the book that really opened me up to spirituality over anything was The Universe Has Your Back. I purchased that book because it was 99 cents. I had no idea who Gabby Bernstein was. I didn't know what the heck the universe was. I didn't know anything. I just remember it being 99 cents and I felt like I needed to have it. And I'm very much, I feel things and I just do it. Um, and so I bought this book, and then I remember like a month later, I heard a voice in my head say, "Read The Universe Has Your Back." Well, I'm a serial not finisher of books. Like I almost never finish books. And I read this book in a week. And I remember like, and that's when I picked my sign, all these different things. 99, yay, all the numbers. Numbers are one of my biggest signs, as Heather knows. And and it was funny because through my teachings with you and with others and my own teachings, this past week, I realized like I was able to tune in instead of tuning out. Like old me would get stressed out, would want to like binge watch TV and eat foods that she shouldn't be eating, and like try to make herself feel better in that way. But this week I heard a voice again, reread the book. And so I started rereading the book, and like today I got a big client, and it's just when I have learned how to tune in instead of tuning out, it made my life and my relationships with Joe and other people so much better. That's been the best thing. It's just like the quality of my life has improved. And because I used to always think like if I had more money, my life would be better, and that's not the case at all. And not that money doesn't make your life, maybe more, you have more freedom or a little bit less stress, but when you can tune into that like inner happiness and that inner balance, I don't know, everything else seems to just kind of line itself up.
I love that. That was perfect. Oh my gosh, girl. I'm like, chills again, chills. No, and that another part, just it warms my heart, just in looking at how much your life has changed, and that you
Yeah.
have this high quality life, high quality relationship, and then that incredible relationship with yourself,
Yeah.
like you said, like being able to tune in and being able to listen to that voice of read the book again, you're
Yeah.
okay, you're doing
Yeah.
well, and just in looking at just the trust, having that trust, that
Yeah.
you have, which is so incredible. And I just feel like, having you on here, I'm like, oh my gosh, like raise your hand if you're inspired. Like I'm so inspired by everything you're sharing. And it is true. It's almost like you get to this point where you're much more aligned with who you are,
Yeah.
and like I trust myself, I love myself, this is who I am. And then you watch how the rest of your life just lines up itself, like
Yeah.
whoa.
Yeah. And it just like the synchronicities just keep happening and keep happening. And you're like, this is crazy. Like, where was this my whole life? But then I look back and I understand like it was all supposed to happen this way. And it happened in divine timing because I wouldn't have been ready for this, 5 years ago. When I first met Susan, that was her name, the woman who, certified me in Reiki. Like if she would have tried to teach me some of this stuff then, it wouldn't have mattered because I needed to go through what I went through in order for it to be where I'm at right now. So I
Absolutely.
love that because I'm able to look at, because old me would just get mad like, why didn't I know this stuff before, and now I'm just like I'm just appreciative of every bad moment, every good moment, because it all lined up the way that it was supposed to line up. So
That's incredible. And I love how you embrace, like you said, like every moment. And then also in recognizing that maybe you weren't ready for some of this stuff,
yeah.
And so everything aligned when you were ready for it. And just to be able to embrace every part, which
Yeah,
is
totally.
very. So I want to hear, what are you doing these days? What is your business? What are you and Joe doing? Do you have a Facebook?
Yeah,
Tell.
of course. So I teach marketing, social media, but with a spiritual side of it. Because one thing that I noticed, I didn't choose this business. I actually I started back in 2013 as a food blogger, and that kind of turned into a lifestyle blog. And from there, I just got really good at growing online. And when I found the law of attraction and my spiritual side of, this whole new life, it's when everything really started to take off. And what I have realized is how much in business it's that spiritual connection and that mindset behind it in order to take it to the next level. So I teach marketing, but I also teach it in a way that not a lot of people teach. Most people don't teach you how to meditate and post on Instagram at the same time. But I know that when you do those things together, because like this last month, the reason I was struggling was because I fell off the horse. I was trying to hustle instead of tapping into my flow and tapping into, that spiritual side that I know that's in me. And so, besides that, Joe builds websites. He's a web developer, and we really enjoy. It's funny because I like believe in like cold pitching, and I teach all these different marketing things. Uh, but the last month, I was cold pitching myself to all these people, and I wasn't getting anything back. And I was like, "What is going on?" Like, I know I'm talented, I know I'm good, and it finally hit me like I'm not meant to work with anybody but spiritual entrepreneurs, because every single spiritual entrepreneur that I've connected with has always resulted in a sale. And so I've had a lot of big realizations for myself this month about how I'm just meant to work with spiritual beings, because it's kind of hard to teach this stuff to someone who doesn't believe in it. You kind of have to stumble on this stuff in your own time. And then when you do and you're ready to go, then that's, who I'm meant to work with, at least at this time in my life. So I have a Facebook group. It's called She Social. We talk about mindset. We talk about growing your spiritual business through the power of social media and marketing. And then as well, Joe builds websites for spiritual entrepreneurs and people who are just beginning or want to refresh their website. It's been really fun. I have a group coaching program right now. It's funny because I launched my group coaching program in August, and it was just 6 weeks. And it was 2 weeks of Instagram, 2 weeks of Facebook, and 2 weeks of Pinterest. But through doing my first round, I realized how much mindset really is a part of it. So I added 2 more weeks. I've made it 8 weeks now, and it's the first 2 weeks is just about getting in tune and getting aligned and getting into flow in order for the other things to work. A lot of things that I teach, because people, and I'm sure, as an entrepreneur yourself and using social media, people get really stressed out about like the algorithm. Oh my gosh, my life's over, my business is over. And it's really, you're manifesting that into your life. If you're focusing on the negative sides of marketing or anything, you're just going to attract, are you still there?
Yep, keep
Did
talking.
I? Okay. I don't know what happened, but we're good.
Yeah, you got it, sweetie. You got it.
So
Good.
yeah, so basically I've just learned that I really need to help the women because I mostly work with women, help them get into the mindset of, I can do this. It's not hard. It's easy. It's fun, because if you make it easy and fun, you're going to want to do it more, and you're going to have more success with it, because no one wants, all of us that are in here, especially if you own a business, you don't get into business to be stressed out. You get into business so you can take the path of life that you want to take. And so I kind of embrace all of my entrepreneur students to do that through connecting spirituality with the business mindset.
Oh, I love that so much. Oh my gosh, that's beautiful. And I love how
Thank you.
it all came together for you,
Yeah, I know. Me too. It's so cool because like I always knew I wanted to be my own boss. My dad, like I said, my dad was an entrepreneur, but I never knew. And then I was studying marketing in school, but the way that it's all kind of made itself to what it is today, even just on my Facebook memories this morning, like I was reminded of like how I wanted to be my own boss, and like just all these things have happened so quickly and they all lined up, and it's just really cool to look back and like see where I was and where I am, and it makes me really excited for where I'm going and all the people that because I get up every day to serve people. I have to make money and I have to pay my bills, but if I've just been putting value and service at the front of everything, and it's made the journey so much more fun and so much more, it gives me a purpose, which is all I ever used to want, and now I feel like I have that, and it feels really good.
that's incredible. Okay, I gotta shut her. My whole body's like, oh my gosh. You are able to bring that to the table. And then also, just some of your insights, they're so profound. And I feel like you read people really well, And so when
Thank you.
people are in her essence, they're just like, okay, she gets me. She understands me, And so I love that. And I love everything that's happening for you. So please put it in the comments below. And then later,
Absolutely.
at the top. So I'll put it at the top of this video. But yeah,
Awesome.
please, you guys get into Courtney's energy. She's absolutely incredible, absolutely amazing. And I love, what you said, like every morning you just want to serve. Like I'm like, and she's got a big heart. Incredible. So thank you, sweet Courtney. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you for
you.
I just want to tell the ladies there, whoever's on right now, that I'm coming on live at 7 for insights, and I'm for sure going to take them.
Woohoo!
So yay. So again, thank you so much, Courtney. This is
Thank you.
awesome, awesome,
Thank you.
awesome.
I really appreciate you having me on. I love being in your energy in this group. It makes me, it feels good when I can find a group that I feel like people who get me and that I can feel connection with. Because I came from a family of three. I have three sisters, and we haven't lived by each other for a long time. So when I can find other people on the internet that I can connect with, it feels really good. So I'm looking forward to connecting with more people in your group as time goes on.
Oh, I love that so much. Isn't that amazing? Just like you said, like
Yeah.
when you people or you come to a place where you're just like, oh, they get me and I get them.
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
yeah. So definitely, you guys get into Courtney's energy. Go ahead and check out her Facebook group. She's got incredible, incredible things happening. So yes, Trisha says, thank you, Courtney and Heather. You're so
Thank you,
welcome.
Trisha.
You guys have a fabulous evening. I'll talk to you soon.
All
Mwah.
right.
Talk to you later.
Bye.
Betty.